Trish Chandler, counselor with last names A through E.
Erin Hayes, last names F through K.
Megan Mixon, last names L through R.
Chris Wallace, last names S through Z. So we've got a nice little podcast here, hopefully talking about course selection options and things for students to be thinking about. Ms. Chandler, I'll start with you, and can you share a little bit about the decision to move towards career pathways and kind of what the goal is with that whole process for our students to be looking over and considering?
So the whole idea with the career pathways and what the district was kind of hoping was for students to start really kind of thinking about what they're wanting to do after high school. It's not like you're declaring a pathway, but a lot of times when we meet with students for their senior meetings, they haven't tried some classes, and for some of them don't even know maybe what they're wanting to do after high school. So we're really trying to push, what are you thinking about after high school, and try and just give them some courses a try that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before, and not just choosing courses because your friends are taking team sports or ceramics or those type of things. Really what is a class that you're interested in and interested in trying and maybe exploring a career.
I'll say this, just from my experience looking at the pathways, the thing that I like though is not only does it give students that guide of some courses to be thinking about, but all of the pathways do have the room for students to still do some of those fun electives.
Yes.
So it's not prohibitive from a team sports, an advanced strength, band, choir, whatever it might be, but it is kind of giving them some purposeful classes to consider in addition to some of those fun ones or more relaxed ones that our students often enjoy.
Well, and also, they can choose one pathway your freshman year, but then choose something totally different sophomore year. And I like that it has that flexibility as well.
And I think a few of the kids that I worked with, I think those sheets in particular were helpful just because a lot of the classes were listed out instead of having to navigate through all of the individual classes on the course guide.
Study, yes.
And brought up things that they hadn't considered or didn't even know were out there. So I thought those were helpful.
Yeah.
Even some of my students that didn't have like a set pathway, we looked at like a couple of them, and kind of like what you were saying with the room to kind of do some of those electives, you could almost kind of like meld two together, but just kind of gave them some ideas of what should I be taking in this year, and how will that help, things that they hadn't thought about within those career paths as well.
For sure.
Yep.
Megan, I know, Ms. Mixon, excuse me.
Okay.
I know we've been getting a lot of questions about off-campus programs, kind of the different options for our students to consider with that. I was wondering maybe if you wanted to start a little conversation about those off-campus programs and kind of important things for students to be thinking about with that.
Yeah, our off-campus programs, when we say off-campus, we're talking about Kansas City, Kansas Community College, Johnson County Community College, and our Eudora Technical Community College. So those are the ones that you actually go off of our campus. I know sometimes people think of CTech, but that's still kind of included in our campus as that is in USD 232. So, I think it's been really nice this year to have some good resources. We have a whole off-campus tab on our website that has some of those videos. I really have enjoyed those videos this year, kind of getting those students in front of students so they can see what was their experience like and those kind of things. I am having a session on Friday, which I know this will air after that, but we are going to put all that information from that session on there. And that presentation is really going to go over what could it look like in your schedule. So I know you guys kind of talked about those pathways, but it has kind of anticipated course blocks, so things that to be thinking about, like, if you're going to do welding, that some of those programs can be in the morning or the afternoon, and would that work with if you're doing a sport and things like that. So that's going to be available on there too. It's just a lot to consider, but there's some really great opportunities. You can get some great certifications, college credit. Those are all some really great things within the off-campus realm.
Just to clarify, because you said Ed Tech Community College.
Oh, did I say? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But isn't there an opportunity to work through some college credit that I thought I saw that's different this year through Barton?
Barton,
okay.
yes. So they do.
So there is a college credit option.
So sorry, yes.
Yeah.
It's Eudora Technical,
Yes.
but I said college.
Yeah.
It's not
No, you're
college,
good.
but you do that through
Yeah.
there.
Cool.
So thank you for clarifying
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome.
I know with the different options, there's pros and cons to some
Correct.
of those options. So I know our district provides transportation to and from
Correct.
EdTech. It's also the least restrictive when it comes to the blocks that it occupies in our student schedules, usually only taking up first block. So they have a little bit more room to take more classes here if they're involved with other, programs and things like that. But what are some of like the confines or the parameters that the Johnson County Community College and Kansas City, Kansas Community College kind of do for student schedules?
So for those, it's going to be, their schedules don't always fit exactly within our range. So if you are going out to a program there, you may have your first through, third block off. So it's going to be similar to a CTEC, but you may have more time with those. And those are going to be really dependent on when those course times are available to us. So that's when we're putting up those schedules of our anticipated times. Those are the times we've had in the past. So when you fill out that off-campus application, you're letting us know which ones you're interested in. After we find out when those program times are, we work with each one of those students to fit it within their schedule. So we'll work with those students whenever they're interested in those off-campus programs.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a change, we've talked about with off-campus, that's juniors and seniors only with the application. But
Yeah.
with CTEC, again, that was opened up to sophomores, and there's not an application. But it's really important with CTEC that those students are choosing the correct course pairings. And I really, emphasize, I've had quite a few students that are still, going off the old course pairings because that's what they've been used to. I've heard friends, but on the website underneath the CTEC section, I've really had to show students, you've got to make sure you're choosing that correct course pairing because that's kind of changing over there at CTEC.
Yeah. I've definitely gotten that application question too, the no application for CTEC. So that's kind of going into the
Yeah.
With sophomores through seniors being able to pursue CTEC, what are some of the other, advantages of those programs compared to the other off-campus options that we have with JCCC, EdTech, and KCKCC?
I think with CTEC, the fact that they have transportation over there, like especially for
Right.
sophomores, I think that's a huge advantage over maybe the off-campus. That way they can get an early start with some of those programs, but then also having the opportunity to maybe be 3 years at CTEC and maybe earning some certificates or some credit hours, those depending on the program that they're going into. Like that's a whole new playing field for some of our students that way, having that opportunity to do a 3-year program. So
Sure.
That and it follows our district calendar, which
Right.
is easier
Yeah, so
just
that's
to
a
not
big
have to pay
difference.
attention to.
Yeah, because
You might not have school at Mill Valley, but you
Right.
still have class at JUCO. or-
right.
Yeah, and those students that are out there now that at Eudora and Johnson County kids, they're following those calendars
Right.
so that there is some days that we have off that they don't have off and vice versa. And then the only one that has transportation out there is going to be the Eudora one.
Yeah.
And those are all in the morning.
Yeah, very good. So our current freshmen and sophomores are on the new graduation requirements. And one of the new criteria that those students have to meet are the STEM class, which is a full credit there. So it could be 2 semester classes or a year-long class, as well as earning 2 PSAs. Ms. Hayes, can you talk a little bit about the STEM electives, the PSAs, where students can find that information on our course selection website and just begin a little discussion on that topic?
Yeah, sure. So the STEM electives just fall under the category science, technology, engineering, math. But there are a ton of classes that they just added for this next year, which I think is really helpful. There is a handout for that on the website, just in one of the flyers. And then listed underneath that are the PSAs. Some of those PSAs are just going to be things that kids are naturally just going to do. If they're in a sport or an activity, I think that was one of them.
Yes.
Having good attendance.
Yes.
Um,
ACT score.
ACT score of 21 or above. And so
Attendance.
I think a lot of it's really just going to organically happen. So I'm hoping that it's not too stressful for
Yeah.
anybody. Every kid will have a senior exit meeting with their counselor, so they'll automatically all have one. So they really just need to be looking at that one more. Yeah, I don't know what.
I've just noticed as I've been updating audit sheets with the expansion of the STEM elective. Like some of my sophomores are already starting to meet that STEM elective with graphic design 1 and human growth and development.
Yep.
And
Right.
so
A lot of options.
a lot of
Yeah.
options that the district has with the revamping of the pathways,
Yep.
also taking a look at that STEM elective
Yep.
and making that part of that graduation
Yeah, I really don't
requirement.
feel like that's going to be as big of a addition
Yes.
as I originally was concerned
Yes.
about. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'll be easy.
And those are going to continue to expand. This is just this is the first year really after they announced
Right.
it. So those are going to just continue to expand. So
Yeah.
I really think, especially with those pathways and things like that, like all of our students are going to have opportunities to naturally achieve those.
Yeah, if I was talking with a sophomore student, who's on this new graduation criteria going into their junior year, I'd be looking over that list and trying to make sure, like, have I taken courses that count for that STEM category? And if I hadn't, I'd really be trying to get those in their junior
Right.
year as much as they can, so that they don't have that hanging over their heads going into senior year.
Yeah.
Just like we advise with the communications class or the fine arts electives, like those one-off categories where students kind of have a lot of choice of what they take to meet that criteria. The earlier that they knock those out, the better off they'll
Yep.
be, for sure.
Absolutely.
So I know our juniors are eagerly anticipating their senior year. Notice
Yes.
the wide smiles on our faces as we look forward to working with them for their senior year. But they all are burning with desire to be a part-time student second semester and qualify for the shortened day program. Let's talk about that criteria of what it takes to be part-time, as well as the important things that they need to be considering when making their course selections for their senior year.
Definitely choose a full schedule. It's so much easier for our counselors to drop the courses. I mean, I literally just got an email from a current junior. Do I need to choose all the classes? Yes, you need to choose a full schedule, including your alternates. It's just so much easier for your counselor to drop those classes instead of trying to find classes that way. So complete that full schedule, be in good standing with your classes, pass your classes. And then when we do your senior meeting in the fall, that's when we'll talk more about what that second semester is going to look like for you. Like, it's too early to have those conversations now, but that's all part of that senior meeting in the fall that way.
Right, and then keeping in mind if you're in a sport or any kind of activity that's CASHA related, they have to keep 5 classes to be eligible in the winter and the spring.
But TA doesn't count.
A teacher's aide does not
doesn't
count
count.
since
Or
that's a
seminar.
class spell. Yep. And I just keep reminding kids to really try to make the most of senior year
Yes.
and explore some opportunities if they're college bound.
Right.
To maybe pick at least one class to earn some college credit, and if they can,
Yes.
even if it means they have to stay here for another block or whatever. Just because there are so many ways to set yourself up to head into college with a lot of college credit under your belt, and that's really going to save you time and money.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Well,
I know everyone's eager to get out of here, but there's a lot of reasons to stay.
I would even say with the new pathways, I know that language wasn't really something that we've worked with that junior class on, but taking a look at those and seeing, are there some opportunities that I haven't been aware of that would be very appropriate for me to consider in preparation for whatever degree it is that I'm wanting to, study. And just thinking about all the experience they can get with some classes here to really help solidify those decisions and cut down on that uncertainty of what those next steps are. That, I think, is a tremendous asset for our students. And so having those pathway guides to reference is a big tool to help with that process, but then also really making them, think carefully about those choices for their senior year and trying to maximize all that senior year has to offer with the unique options off campus
Right.
and things like that, along with, some elective classes that I think could be
Yeah.
helpful.
Well,
Or
and
just
I also-
taking the chance to try something
Right.
before
Yes.
you're like financially committed to it after high
Right.
school and you get 2 years into a welding program and decide that's not what you want to do.
Exactly.
To be able
Do it
to
here.
have the chance to be exposed to it partially on the district's dime.
Right.
And you've got to be here,
Right.
Anyway. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think it's a
And
great
I just wanted
opportunity.
to point out, like, the internships. Like,
Yeah.
internships
Oh,
have
those
really
internships are
grown,
great.
and Dr. Schaefer has worked really hard to try to place students in their career interests, and I think that's another way of networking with people. Like, you never know when you go to college and you want to maybe do an internship while you're in college. The the connections that you make with that, it can be so beneficial that way. So even, considering an internship.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
those are great options, like things that I never had,
Right.
when I was in high school. And so I think that, getting those experiences too, I think that those are really good. I know that they haven't probably quite started thinking about it yet, but you think about like those college application essays and things like that. If you have some of those real world experiences to really include in those, I just think those makes it more powerful, and you can kind of just show more your drive and what you're wanting to do.
Yes.
I'll put one more plug in for those internships. A lot of them are paid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and often you can make a decent little amount doing those internships,
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
even more than you make hourly wage at a Quick Trip or Chipotle or wherever it is that students are working and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's not only a great resume piece that can lead to more opportunities down the line, but also save up a nice little chunk of change for college and things like that if they want to continue on that path.
Absolutely. And I know Ms. Hayes mentioned it, but like those off-campus programs, things like that, when you're getting those certifications, you are doing it at a discounted rate. And I know the videos that some of our students had, like kind of showing those, they were saying how much they were saving in some of those. So getting into that too, and just seeing if it is something you really like, or take like ceramics or something fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, for
like
sure.
I was like, there's a lot of times I'm like, I want to go take low impact fitness or something
Right.
like that. Like let's take the
Right.
opportunity to have some fun in our senior
The
year.
counselors doing yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't know that they want to see that.
Well, that's all the time we have. As always, reach out to your counselors if you're needing help and support. We'll be in the media center next week to do some Q&A on Monday and Tuesday. So students are welcome to drop in. Those are kind of more drop-in sessions, so like quick one-off questions and that
Right.
type of thing. But if you need a more in-depth conversation, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Schedule a meeting, stop by. We're trying to see as many students as we can these next few weeks to really help with this process. So don't hesitate to stop by. We're anticipating students stopping by and eager to help you with all of these decisions and stuff like that. And again, so many of the resources that you need to help you with this process are on that counseling website. So do dive into that course selection tab, look at all your resources, and try and do some research on your own so that you have a good idea of what you're thinking
Yeah.
about doing for next year.
Yeah,
So
we've really tried to expand that this year and put a lot of information on our website so that
Absolutely.
you guys have all of that there. So you should have a lot of information you can go through.
yeah. All right. This has been fun, ladies.